Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Answer This. Today we get a question about what to do when we're all stuck at home waiting this whole thing out.
All right, John, I'm bored here with the coronavirus, so sending in an ask for this big red guy. Since we're home and practicing, for those who don't know, this horse is getting ready to go preliminary. He is one who kind of likes to jump past the distances as his combinations. So, John, my question for you is, what can I set up at home to keep practicing, especially during this downtime of no competing? Thanks.
Hey Jacqueline, thanks for the question. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do at home to practice and get better during this time when we're all kind of stuck. Unfortunately, everybody's in the same boat. We're all stuck at home, kind of wondering how long we're going to be here. And there's lots of stuff we can practice, whether we're fortunate enough to be on a big farm or we have an indoor to school in. There's always things we can practice. So I'm just going to take a minute and show you some stuff that you can work on with horses that tend to jump too big into combinations to work on their rideability. All right, so this is the stuff I've got. So this is the first exercise that I would work on, and we call this the canter zigzag. And it's a pretty basic exercise to set up. It's just 3 poles on the ground. And what we do with this is we work on our canter. We canter around to these rails on sort of half 20 or 30 meter circles. You want to work to be able to canter to these rails cleanly and quietly. The horse shouldn't leap over them. The horse also shouldn't split its legs over these poles. You want to try this in collected canter. You want to try this in forward canter. The biggest issue that we have usually when riding a horse that tends to jump in too big into combinations is really about the rideability and the connection. So the more you can work on the quality of canter with exercises like this, the better. From there, then we graduate over here to these purple rails on my cinder blocks. I like to affectionately call those my redneck cavalettis or my Ocala cavalettis. And so what we have here is we have this canter pole here, straight ahead, just ignore the hose there, straight ahead to this canter pole here. Those poles are set, in this case, at 42 feet, and then quite often I'll have another set next to them or perpendicular to them to make kind of a box on 30 to 33 feet. And with those, again, I just work on canter in, be able to ride 4 strides quietly to that one, or 3 strides quietly in the 33. And then again, I try to work on different canters. I work on going forward, I work on collecting so that I can add strides or take strides away in those lines, as the case may be. And again, cantering in quietly and calmly and being able to keep the rideability when I land as well, that the canter's always connected and nice and rideable. From there, then what I usually would do or recommend doing with your horse would be something like this gymnastic I have set up here. So now we're back into trot. And this is a real basic gymnastic. It's one of my favorites. I have it set up here a lot. And what we've got are 3 trot poles on 4 feet. And we've got about 8 feet to that cross rail, and then 18 to 19 feet to the oxer. I tend to try to leave the straightening poles in there so that the horses stay straight and don't shift left or right. And I also tend to put that landing rail in the middle to help the horses learn to sit down, or to put their feet down. Now with something like this, I don't start with it all set up. Usually I start with the poles to the cross rail, or if it's a really green horse, I'll start with the poles and then just have that ground line there and the X will be gone. And then I gradually build up this exercise as we go. You don't have to jump it huge. Big jumping isn't really that important with this stuff. You know, this would be right here about 3'3". That'd be about as big as you need to get, in my opinion, to work on the footwork exercise that you're talking about. All right. Once you master that, then I would come over to something like this. This is sort of the next step. This is cantering again. These cavalettis here are set up on anywhere from 7 to 9 feet, depending on the horse that you're sitting on and its experience. And from there, we go to this little oxer. Again, from that last placing rail to the jump is usually about 8 to 9 feet, depending on the horse. You can also add a landing rail on the backside of that oxer to help your horse get down and learn to finish its jump. And then from there, actually what I do quite often is then I go up and I'll ride on a left lead to that jump there, turn left, come back around, canter through here, land, turn right, and I'll canter to that jump there. Those jumps in this case, because we're at a big field, are 8 to 9 strides away. But you can just be creative. Lots of trotting poles, keeping things small, keeping things pretty straightforward for the horse, being very progressive in how you build it up. That's the stuff that I would work on with my horses. So that's the stuff I'd work on with my horses at home. I do that all season long, but I concentrated on a little bit more when we have times like this where it's sort of, I guess we could call it the off season. This is kind of a forced off season right now, but we'll call it the off season. Just to keep them jumping in the right technique without having to get it terribly big. From there, if you want to, you certainly could go on and do a little bit of coursework, depending on the day and the horse. Anyway, hope that helps. Thanks for the great question.